This is Diana Sullivan in Austin, Texas, and this next project is a baby blanket. It's a round blanket, about 36 inches across, and here it is made in a lightweight worsted in light blue. Now, I call it the swirl blanket because of the pinwheel effect, the way that the triangles it's made from converge in the center. So here's a close-up of that center, and then I'll work my way out so that you can see the swirl blanket. Now for the videos, I'm making it in 2 shades of pink. It's made of 10 triangles, so I have 5 dark pink triangles and 5 light pink triangles. This project is for any flatbed machine. It could be a bulky machine, a mid-gauge machine, or a standard machine, and it's for whatever yarn you like. You will have to adjust the number of stitches at the wide end of the triangle to get a different size. So if you use a standard weight yarn instead of this worsted weight yarn, you're going to need more stitches to get the same size blanket. This blanket knits up very fast, and I would rate this as a beginner level project. This is the yarn I'm going to use to make the baby blanket in 2 shades of pink. It's called Bernat Baby Coordinates, and in case you need to substitute, let me zoom in close so that you can see the label. Note from the label that this is about 5½ ounces, 160 grams, that it has a lot of yardage, 431 yards, and that it's acrylic, rayon, and nylon. This is going to wash well, which I think is a good thing for a product for a baby. And it's marked as a group 3, a lightweight yarn. This is a sport weight yarn. And in a 4-inch square, it is 22 stitches. This yarn has a little bit of a shine, and it's got a little bit of kink and flub to it. So it's a boucle. And I think it'll look very interesting in a project that is mainly stockinette stitch. Before I can knit, I have to rewind the yarn into center pull balls, and I want them to pull very easily. And this is great. There's simply no tension at all, so that yarn is ready to thread into the machine. I'm going to begin by casting on over 2 needles with a little piece of waste yarn, and I'm just going to do a loop over the first needle like that, and I'll just E-wrap over the second needle so I have a little yarn on each one. I'm going to pick this yarn out later, so I don't really want it to be too secure, just enough to hold the stitch. The first triangle is going to be dark pink. I'm going to begin on 2 needles, 30 left and 29 left. I'm going to end the triangle on 60 needles from 30 left to 30 right. I'm going to start with a little waste yarn. I just loop it over the first needle, and then I E-wrap the second needle. And I'll hang a clothespin on that and just get that out of the way. All that did was put a little yarn on each needle. I'm going to have to pick the waste yarn out later. Then I thread up with the darker of my 2 pinks for this first triangle. Remember, I am alternating the light and then the dark, and I knit a row to get started. That is 2 stitches. So I knit across the 2 needles and just make sure they knitted through, and I knit back. Now, from here on, I'm going to increase on every second row on the right side only. So I'm going to increase 1 stitch and knit across and back. Note there was no increase on the left side. Needs a little tug through. It really needs a weight. Let me get a weight on. Increase on the right and knit 2. 1, 2. Increase on the right, knit 2. 1, 2. I do this whole first triangle this way. Pull a needle out, knit 2 rows. I will continue this procedure until I have 60 needles in work, and then I will take it off on waste yarn. I began at needle number 30 on the left, and when I have 60, I'll be at needle number 30 on the right. I'm going to add weights as I work my way across, but this will be the first triangle in the darker pink. Once I have a piece 60 needles wide. I'm just going to cut the yarn and knit a few rows with waste yarn and take it off. I don't have to bind off because I'm going to do an edging later onto these open stitches. I'll just put a few rows of waste yarn on, and I like 6 or 7 for security. When I finish the first triangle, what I have is a straight area at the top with the waste yarn, the increased side, and the straight side. You see, this is an asymmetrical triangle, which is what makes the pinwheel effect on the blanket. Now, the increased side has loops all the way up, and they're rather loose. And then the straight side looks like the edge of any knitting along the side. And this is the side I'm going to pick up to begin the next triangle. Along the side edge of knitting, one row will always result in a little hard knot. The next row will be a loop. So let me poke my tool in the loop so you can see the loop. That's the loop. Then there's a little knot. There's the next loop. There's the knot. There's the next loop, the knot, the next loop, the knot, and the next loop. It's the loops that need to be picked up onto the needles to start the second triangle. I hold the triangle with the purl side facing me and the long straight side against the machine, and not the loopy side up, but the little small stitches side up. And I'm going to start by picking up the bar in between the two knots, and I just set that on the first needle on the left. I have 60 needles out, 30 left to 30 right, and then I just pick up the second loop and hang it on a needle, and pick up the third loop. Just have to unroll it so I can see where the loop is, and hang it on a needle. I'm going to go the whole length of the side of this knitting, just unrolling it and picking up the loops and hanging them on the needles. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that and then come back and show the next step. Once it's all hung on the machine, then I'm just going to slip it between the beds. I do have a ribber hanging here, but I won't use the ribber at all for this project. And I'm going to hang 3 claw wreaths, one on the far left, and then one a little distance from the far right, and one in the middle. That seems to be enough weight for this project. And since this was the darker pink, I'm going to need a ball of the lighter pink now.